Hello everyone. On today's Command Modern Operations tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at the effects of unit proficiency. Now, unit proficiency is sort of a catch-all term for basically how good a particular nation or individual unit's ability with their weapon systems are. In game sense, there's really only a couple different things that are actively affected by this. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at where you can actually set unit proficiency for mission designers. Now, if you were to go to Editor and go to Add Edit Sides, you probably notice when you click on a side, it would give you a proficiency level. Obviously, we can go all the way up to ace, we can go all the way down to novice. Clicking this switch only affects units set to inherit the side's proficiency. What does that mean? Well, that means if you were to go to your sides or order battle and say, click this guy right here, you would notice that you could manually set inherited from side, or you could specify precisely which particular unit you want to have. So what differences do the proficiencies have? Let's start by showing you what it does affect, and then we'll go ahead and show you things that you would think it would affect, but it would not. The first one, probably the most important aspect of this, is going to be what they call the OODA Loop. What's the OODA Loop? It's the observe, orient, decide, and act. It is the reaction time for a given unit. That basically says that if I'm a regular unit, this particular SA4, or I should say 2K11, is going to take 30 seconds from the moment it spots a target that's identified as hostile to engaging the target. Keep in mind, if it knows there's a hostile target way over here, and it takes 25 minutes to get into firing range, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. He'll be able to meet this time. Now notice at ace level, it takes 24 seconds from the moment that target is a hostile and in range to get a shot off. Notice with targeting, if we do it at novice, it'll take a minute. So what does this actually look like in game? Well, let's take a look. So what I have is my 2K11 right here. I'm going to go ahead and set its proficiency to be novice. I'm going to go ahead and hit unpause. He turns his radar on. He immediately spots a unit. I'm going to say that unit is hostile. Observe what time it is. I'll speed up time a little bit. Pause. So it took him exactly 1 minute between knowing that the target is in range, identifying, seeing the target, and then firing his missiles at the target. I'll go ahead and let those missiles do their thing there. Nicely done. Now let's recreate the exact same situation, but this time let's set him to an ace quality. So I'll go ahead and right click on him and set it to maximum proficiency here, which would be ace. Now same exact thing happens. Now watch the difference in timing to get that first set of missiles off. That was exactly about 30 seconds or so, which is incredible if you think about it. That means that by the time this unit had even started traveling on our direction, we've already got 2 missiles en route, which also means since we fired sooner, we'll be able to re-attack sooner as well. And obviously, new targets appear, we'll be able to switch targets quicker. This is insanely valuable. So let's take a look at what it does not affect. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly reload this mission here. And this was a bit of a surprise to me when I was first playing around with this, because I figured proficiency should be in everything you do. Let's go to Centralia and go ahead and get rid of that aircraft. So I'm going to go all the way up here to the middle of the Pacific Ocean real quick. Go ahead and now take a look at our situation. Go ahead and switch to Blue 4. Now here's what we have. We have a group of frigates. Each one of these frigates, this one is a novice, all the way through ace frigate. We have a group of enemy aircraft as well as enemy submarines that are going to be flying directly towards the frigate. Now what you're going to observe might kind of surprise you. Pause. All the aircraft were detected simultaneously. As a matter of fact, if I go to a weapon game here, let's go ahead, contact change, you can see that they all detected them at about the same distance. Interesting. Actually, we can open this up and kind of prove my point here. 8 nautical miles. Now, what gets interesting is, watch what happens when we set a subsurface target. Notice, we acquired every single one of the subsurface targets just about simultaneously. I'll go ahead and pause just to demonstrate to prove my point here. You would think that a unit that is more proficient would be better able to use their sensors in order to spot contacts, but that's simply not what happens in this game. And as far as when I click this, you can see they all detected them pretty much the same. The little tiny variances here have to do with the rounding, plus the actual orientation of the ship versus the submarine. So there's no impact whatsoever on detection when it comes to unit proficiency. Which brings us to the next and very important part of unit proficiency, which is going to be related to how well a unit avoids. And I'll go ahead and show you this one more time. Go ahead and delete him. He's not important. So we're going to go back to our continent of Centralia. So what I've done is I've set up a relatively straightforward strike package. If I actually open it up, if you want to take a look, I've got everything broken down by section. I've got everything broken down to attack the targets. I've got some combat operations, everything ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the entire side to be at a novice proficiency. So now what I'm expecting to see is basically a good amount of damage. However, I expect to see high losses. The reason I expect to see the high losses is because of the fact that when these aircraft are on their way, they will not have a bonus to evasion when things are launched at them. By the way, weapon attacks are not affected by proficiency. So a crew that has a very, very, very good shot is exactly the same thing as a crew that has a very, very bad shot as far as the game is concerned. So you got to kind of watch out for that also. All right, here comes my giant wave of aircraft. Remember, these guys are set to minimum. I'm just going to kind of let it take its course here. And then we're going to let it take its course again, but next time as an ace. Of course, who finally gets to the picture? Those guys. All right, doing some cap, doing the little thing. All right, that should be enough. Let's take a look at how things went. Remember, these guys are set to novice. Their opponents are set naturally to regulars. So if you take a look here, we lost 3 intruders and we lost 2 phantoms. Look at the damage, though. We actually killed a lot, and I mean a lot of different targets on the ground. You can see the expenditures as well. They went through 408 rounds of 100 millimeter. Now watch what happens when I flip which side. Let's go ahead and delete that SA4. It's just going to victimize our target there. Watch what happens if I set the other side to be novice. Remember, the only thing it's going to be affecting is their ability to dodge weapons and their ability to quickly engage targets. My expectation would be that those KS-19s would not be able to get nearly as many shots off. Casualty-wise, it's probably going to be fairly similar. We'll see. It's kind of fun to watch in fast motion. It's like a bunch of angry bees. All right, that looks pretty good. Ready, go. Notice, we lost a little less aircraft. That doesn't surprise me. However, notice that the enemy only got off 8 rounds of 100 millimeter this time. The reason being is those guns took so much longer to bring their things to bear. The reason my casualties are less is if you actually take a look here. Let's go ahead and open this up real fast. We'll do weapon and game here. You'll notice that actually, that's not good. We need to actually shoot at something. There we go. You'll notice here that because of his proficiency, it adjusts his ability to get hit. Now, we can take this to the next extreme. By the way, you probably observed the fact we did about the same amount of damage on the ground both times. That's because the weapons are such short range. Let's go ahead and do this one more time. And this time, go scoot back. We don't need our 2K11 there. Go away. Nobody likes you. Scoot up to Centralia again. This time, let's go ahead and set it up so that Blue Force has maximum proficiency and Centralia has minimum proficiency. Now, this might surprise you. We're still going to lose aircraft because those guided weapons are still going to succeed at actually engaging us. Yes, I see my mistake. Like I said, it has no impact on the accuracy of the weapons. It only has an impact on the person trying to get out of the way of said weapon. So we'll make this an extreme difference. All right, let's try it now. Watch this. Off they go. Notice they were able to get everybody lined up. Everybody's in formation. And away we go. It's mesmerizing. All right, let's go ahead and pause. Watch. No losses. The other thing to observe, they only got off 8 rounds of KS-19, and they got a very, very few rounds of SA-2Bs and very few of the SA-3s. Well, actually, that's under losses, I'm sorry. Expenditures, they got 344 rounds off. I actually misspoke before. But keep in mind, this is still significantly less than with the more experienced crews. And you can see as far as missiles go, we got very few of those off. Actually, quite a bit more of those ready to go. So is there anything else that the proficiency effects? The answer is yes. And this is one of the weirder ones, and I actually kind of like this one. And that has to do with how far an aircraft can fly off the ground. So I'm going to get myself an F4E real quick. Get myself the GPU 12. Go ahead and get a heavy one. I'm going to set his proficiency to novice. I'm going to go ahead and tell him to go here. I'm going to tell him to go to minimum altitude. All right. Okay. So a novice's minimum altitude, because this is actually a very, very nice version of the F4, I believe he may have some capabilities to do low-level navigation. Let me confirm that real quickly. No, it's not. So his minimum altitude is basically 150 feet, which isn't too bad. Let's go ahead and get a copy. But this time, let's go ahead and set his proficiency to maximum. And let's go ahead and order him. Let's make him come up a little bit. And then let's order him to go down to minimum altitude. I feel bad for the pilot. He just got the roller coaster. Look at this. Ta-da! His minimum altitude is 80 feet, which is actually a significant improvement. Now, if I did this with a B-52 as opposed to a Phantom, that's a massive difference in altitude that you'd be attacking on. Which brings me to the final thing that you're going to see affected by unit proficiency, and that comes in G-force tolerance. Let's go ahead and open this up one more time. We'll get rid of our 2K11, scoot back up here, just for, oh, actually we want to stay relatively close to the action here, just in case. So let's say I go down here and I grab myself an F86. Get ourselves an F model, because I'm a nice guy. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there. No sidewinders, I just want internal guns. And now let's go ahead and on the other side, let's see, we'll set it a pretty short distance here. We'll make it a pretty standard merge here, about 5. That's not really fair. Let's make it about 10 nautical miles away. Let's get ourselves a MiG-21. Actually, we'll do a MiG-15. We'll keep it realistic here. All right. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. All right. I'm going to order the MiG-15 to come right at him. And I'm going to set his unit proficiency to novice. Now what I'm going to do is go over to this buddy right here, grab him, order him to go in the same direction, and I'm going to leave his unit proficiency alone because I want you to see what this does. There's one little tiny, actually, you know, I'll leave that out for now. So I'm going to go ahead and shut off God mode here. All right, he should be seeing him in just a minute. Fortunately, because of the way this works, it's very difficult. I'm actually going to move him right here. He's going to finish turning, and we're going to get ourselves a nice merge. Now, G-force tolerance is a relatively new thing in the Command universe. We did not have it in the earlier versions of Command. It's not necessarily a bad thing. There we go, pause. So I'm going to go ahead and order the F-86 to go ahead and attack that guy. I'm going to delete his plotted course so that it does not interfere with anything. Switch over to the MiG-15. He sees this guy as well. I'm going to order him to begin attacking. Let's grab that and delete that course so that he only attacks the target. Notice it's taking him a longer time to actually start to line up his attack. All right, switch to God's mode so you can go ahead and see what happens here. Now, what's going to happen is these two are going to merge. They're not going to get that cheap front shot, you know, that World War II special kind of a thing with a P-38 with no gun deflection. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to enter into a tight series of basically scissors with each other. So he's going to pass by. Oh, I hate it when that happens. So that's sort of a bummer, but we can always just get another one. Let's grab ourselves another one. Good job, good job. You get a gold star. Usually you don't get away with those cheap deflection shots. I'm actually slightly impressed, but like I said, these things don't always go according to plan, as you could probably imagine. Grab one from the Soviet Union, grab internal guns real quickly, and we'll go ahead and order him over here. I don't think he can actually see that guy. Order him to attack. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side real quick. Our buddy here is not going to be able to see him, so I'm going to do one of these things so that he can, just to acquire him. Again, I'm cheating a little here, but if he can't see him, he can't really do anything about it. Let's go ahead and switch, of course, our buddy here to be back to novice proficiency. Set proficiency. It's a good way to simulate lack of G-suits, by the way. Maybe I need to do a side-by-side merge or something like that. Come on, guys. You're right next to each other. There we go. All right, so now I can order him to do that. Delete that one. Switch to the other side. Hopefully we don't get that cheap shot again. Go ahead and give him a second, even though it's right behind him. Oh, you got to get a little closer. I see the issue here. He's right there on your right. Of course, we can't do that. Come on, man. Seriously? He's right there. First world problems, I guess. You have to be able to see him. Okay, fine, be that way. So I remember playing IL 1946, which was a really, really cool game. If you've not had a chance to do it, there's a more modern version, which is also very, very cool. And one of the fun problems we always seem to have with that one is basically finding the other guy. There we go. So now I can move him backwards and I can order him to attack. Finally. Let's hope this is going to be a fair enough scenario now, though. All right, go ahead and engage. Okay, so he's going to start turning, and you're going to notice this little G tolerance bar start to spike up. Now, if we switch quickly over to our buddy here, actually, can we do it from here? Oh, we can't see it from here. Let's switch back to him real quickly. This I feel so bad. Now, when he starts to do his turn, he's going to have to do the exact same thing. Whoop. Come on. There he goes. So now he starts turning. But because his G-force tolerance is not as good as the F-86's, he's going to end up taking a much wider turn in order to get around and try to get on a 6. This might be a good demonstration to actually show. Let's go ahead and get that other radar. Only be fair here, you know? Try to give a demonstration. These guys are being difficult. Probably should have done it with like an F-100 and MiG-21 or something like that. All right, so now this guy's going for that side deflection shot, which is very challenging, by the way, for anybody who's played any flight simulators. Now, when he misses, fingers crossed, he's going to have to turn very sharply in order to keep up with him, which is what he's going to do right now. There he goes. Now he's starting to build up that G-force tolerance. Meanwhile, our buddy from Centralia, since he does not have the same level of G-force tolerance, is basically going ultra wide. So what I'm actually going to do is tell him to go to a lower altitude. Assuming he can. Keep in mind he is engaging other guys at the same time. Yeah, so the other guy, look at that. He's finished his turn completely and is getting completely on the inside of this MiG-15. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, he's reeling him in. And that MiG-15, no matter how defensive he tries to be, will never be able to turn inside of that other one because of his lack of proficiency. Now, if this were a MiG-29, that proficiency, hey, look at airport, that proficiency would not be nearly as important in this particular scenario because it would just have better performance. Yeah, this is going to end relatively quickly here. Look at that. This would be kind of fun to see in 3D, assuming everything's working properly today. Irmo. There we go. Ah, look at that. Ooh, that's a tight turn. Oh, that F-86 is like right next to him. Oh, geez. He's going to be reading the serial numbers off his engine in a second. There he goes. He's got a hit already. Now, the reason this changed is because he went to a lower altitude. Of course, the F-86 has 50 caliber machine guns. It's not going to do nearly as much damage as those giant cannons. By the way, if you're ever curious in command to see which one is the better fighter, if you've ever looked at the MiG-15, the percent of kill for its regular cannons, let me see if I can find that real quickly, is actually, I think it's 65%. Versus, this is kind of disappointing, if you look at the F-86's guns, you'll notice the percent of chance to hit is only 50. Also, you'll notice this does 0.2 damage. The ones on the MiG-15 do 1 damage, which is more than enough to blow up an F-86 in a single hit. Okay, hopefully you found this sort of interesting. Like I said, this is a slightly different kind of a video. I was just trying to provide you guys with a general idea of what Proficiency does. Again, it affects the OODA Loop. Obviously, if you're more proficient, you can use your weapons more soon. It's going to improve your evasion if somebody launches a missile at you. It's going to also improve your ability to fly at low altitude. And then finally, it's also going to increase your G tolerance. Enjoy.